Hey everybody! So welcome back to another episode of the Real Talk Uncensored podcast. I'm your host August Witt, and today our guest is Mary Ann. Mary Ann, how are you doing today?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good today. So my first question for you is I just want you just to tell me about yourself a little bit, kind of how you ended up here at the Fountain Youth, and kind of who you are, and yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna have to start from the very beginning. I was born and raised in Northwest Indiana. Um, my parents ended up getting a divorce. I ended up living with my mom, and my brother ended up living with his dad. So we moved around quite a bit, and we were at I'd say you'd call it like the caring place, which is for battered women and children. Um, I grew up in seeing a lot of domestic violence growing up in my family, and so it was a normal for me. So as I got older, I started experiencing domestic abuse in my own life, and I didn't realize how it affected me until I really dug deep and seeing like I was actually self-reflecting on the things that had happened to my mom, and I could relate to the things that she had dealt with that I've been dealing with all my life, pretty much my whole adult life. And so when I got on my own and I had my own kids, it got to the point where I wasn't I wasn't safe around the people that I was in a relationship with. And it got to the point where I got sick and tired of fearing of my own life, I guess you could say.
Of course.
And this last relationship that I had almost took my life. I was in a car accident. We were doing like 70, 80 back in Indiana. Big snowstorm. A whole bunch of cars piled up in the median. And for some reason, I felt this. I felt something deep inside that something wasn't right. So I ended up putting my seatbelt on. And when I did, not even a second later, he ends up speeding up, and we run into the median, in my car, with my daughter in it, and we ended up spinning my car 3 times, and all I could see was traffic and semis going past my small car with all three of us, and I thought I for sure was gone. My life flashed right before my eyes, and to this day, I talk about it because it needs to be talked about. I could have ended up 6 feet under, and who knows where I would have been, if I would have stayed with him. I could have ended up dying that night. But thank God some people that were supportive of me, like my family, and were able to kind of like say, hey, come out here, it's better for you. So I ended up coming out here. At the time, I didn't I didn't want to stay in Indiana because I knew it was just the environment wasn't good for me. So I ended up staying with a friend in Gary, Indiana for a while before I moved out here. But I couldn't get my own apartment because of the evictions that I had on me because of my ex. But when I came out here, I felt like I was given a second chance at life and everything else. Um, when I came here, I got into an apartment. They said that they had seen the evictions, but they cared more about my story than the evictions on the paper. In Indiana, they don't care like that. Um, and then when I was out here, I got my own therapy cat, and I was able to remain in contact with my daughter, and I eventually found my son, which he is in Indy right now. I found him about I'd say 2 years ago, and with the help of my daughter's nano, and life has been a lot better. And my aunt that lives out here, she's the one that introduced me to Fountain of Youth, and I really wanted to change my life, and I didn't know how I was going to do it, but I knew something needed to change. So I ended up going to Real Talk, and I also ended up doing one-on-one with Caprice, and I've been here ever since. I've started um, doing my own thing, and I've dealt with a lot of, I'd say, brain health issues from my past traumas, but I'm able to work on it now more, I think, because Real Talk gives you a new perspective on life, and you really got to pay attention to what he's saying, because certain words that he describes mean something totally different to other people. And um, I think that being in Real Talk and really knowing the meaning of the words that he's saying have a big impact on everyone. So and now I've been volunteering. I've been going to I finished school at NICC, which I never thought I'd accomplish. And I think that if it wasn't for Fountain of Youth, I wouldn't have put my foot forward. I wouldn't have the confidence in myself. And I needed the support here because I wasn't getting it back in Indiana. And I didn't have the friends that I needed in my life. It was people that I grew up with that ended up turning their backs on me. And but when I came here, it was just a different kind of environment.
I mean,
So
it sounds like it, th- and thank you so much for sharing everything that you just did. I can't imagine what what it was like for you all that time in Indiana and with that last ex and your story. It's incredible in a way, and it's so amazing to hear how well you're doing now and how you really took a hold of your life, and it's amazing to hear. And you actually really like without even trying, you answered a bunch of my questions that I usually ask, which is a great thing. Um, and wow, it's just so amazing to hear. One thing that I want to ask you further is for people who are in your situation, what would you say to them? Like, what have you, like, what are the lessons that you've learned through this incredible journey of yours as you've now gotten to the point where you are in your own life? And what, what, and what would you tell somebody who was in your shoes before?
um, I know for me, it was hard to trust people, especially like certain family members. Um, so definitely when I was younger, I was very um, gullible and believed what everybody said. And for me, I had to learn to trust my own self. I had to trust the process and let things be. And it's not easy because I've been the type of person where I want to get things done because I can at least trust myself. I can't really trust anybody else. I was scared of trusting everybody else because I've been let down by so many people in my life. Um, when I was before graduating high school, I ended up staying with a family member out in Arizona, and I am probably going to get a lot of heat from saying this from my family, but it needs to be said because family secrets are just a way for you to hold in more shame. So I'm going to say it and let things be. Um, when I was living with family out in Arizona, I was working a lot trying to get my high school diploma and stuff. And I I ended up going through some sexual abuse by one of my uncles, and that kind of like turned my life around. And it was a critical point for me because I said, this isn't healthy, this isn't right, and I need to escape. And ever since then, I've had my walls up, and it's very hard to trust people in my life. But you got to learn who your safe people are, who are going to support you, who are going to listen to you, who are going to understand you. Someone that's really going to go through something with you and just sit there and listen to you. And it makes a whole lot of difference. And whenever you're ready, you're ready. Before, I wasn't able to talk about this kind of stuff because it's been hidden from the public. Like, you think you're born into a family and everybody has their secrets. Every family has their own secrets, but it's not talked about enough. And I think that's because there's a lot of shame. But the more you hide that kind of stuff, the more shame you have. So it's better to open up to someone safe and someone who's not, someone that you can trust. And if you don't trust yourself, there's really no way you can trust someone else.
I 100% agree, and I'm proud that you're able to share that now. And there, I'm sure there's so many families out there who are holding in secrets of things in their family that are unhealthy and things that should have never happened. I think it's true that the only way to heal that pain and those secrets in the family is to let them out and try to become as healthy as possible and have a good and and make your family as good as you can. And you talked a little bit earlier about how something that you had to do was listen to yourself and learn to love yourself. Can you talk a little bit about what that looked like for you on how you learned how to look inward?
I didn't know how to really look inward until I came to Real Talk. The one-on-ones like really helped me because you're learning about yourself and others, the relationship that you have to yourself and to others. Um, you really need to look inside yourself because if you're not looking within inside yourself, you're not going to be self-aware. What are your triggers? What makes you happy? What makes you upset? And how are you going to deal with these emotions? Because a lot of times when you're um, when something traumatic happens, a lot of times people like to avoid it by drinking or doing drugs or being in relationships, unhealthy relationships, like I was in. So, but with me, I had to really look inside myself, and I would say between going into the one-on-one talks with Caprice and going to real talks have helped me tremendously. And what I learn in this group, I'm able to pour into my own kids and whoever else that I run into.
I mean, it's incredible to hear how Found Youth was such a resource to you
Mm,
and helped you become the best self that you are today.
thank you.
And it it makes you wonder though for people who don't have access to Real Talk and Found Youth who live elsewhere and don't have that resource, is there any advice you can give to them to since they don't since they don't have us, what can they do to improve their situations?
With me, a lot of times, if I'm not here, I'm always Googling stuff, and I go to YouTube and I learn about different things. I am a life learner. Um, I will type in what are the attachment styles. Like I've been going on YouTube watching attachment styles because really there are four attachment styles. So there's secure, and then there's insecure. Well, sorry, there's two. There's secure and then insecure. The secure is where you're feeling loved and nurtured and cared for and seen and heard and all that. But that starts when you're from 0 to 2 years old. As you get older, and then you have these other attachment styles which are considered or called insecure. So you have the avoidant, dismissive, uh, dismissive avoidant. Then you have the fearful avoidant, and then you have anxious, the anxious attachment, and then you have secure. Most people are not secure because of their upbringing. One parent could be out to work, but that child needs your attention, so they don't feel like they're being loved enough. It could be something small like that, or it could be your parents fighting constantly and you're not feeling worthy because of what's going on in your environment as a little child. So with me, I've been reading, not reading, but I've been Googling as well as YouTubing stuff. That way I can help myself learn.
I think that's exactly the way to best improve a situation. It's so amazing now how we have the internet and how we have so much free information out there that can help us understand ourselves better and know what to do in different situations. And I think you're right on the sense of one of the best ways to heal past trauma and past wounds is to take that step forward and continue to try to understand why that happened and how you can be better than that.
Mhm. And I've also had to realize my parents knew the best way they knew how to take care of me, to parent me. And I can't blame them anymore. I'm an adult. I need to parent myself because of my insecure attachment. I need to learn how to parent myself and do the internal work. And that's going to take time because I'm so used to numbing. I'm so used to like being on the phone, or I'm so used to staying busy. Just because if it's too quiet, it's in a way loud in my mind, if that makes sense. Um,
Yeah.
but it's I had to learn to parent myself, and I couldn't. I have to take on the responsibility to heal my own wounds in from childhood, because if not, it's going to get passed down to my son, my daughter, their sons and their daughters, and so on and so forth.
That's exactly right. It it starts with you in the beginning when you're a kid and you're being affected by your parents, but it doesn't have to further go down generations. I think that's a
Right.
beautiful thing. I think there's a surge of that right now in society on how people are realizing that and getting out of toxic behavior that was passed down to them. I think it's a
Mhm.
beautiful thing. Um, so another question I have for you is, besides Fountain Youth, were there any resources or any people that you want to shout out who really helped you along in your journey? You kind of only, I think you mentioned your nana,
My
your
aunt,
aunt.
she was the one that was encouraging me to come here. And if it wasn't for her uh to have me come out here, I think I would still be in in that dark space and not learning how to grow as a person, as a mom, as a daughter. Um, yeah, just as a person in general.
Mm,
I I I wouldn't be thinking differently, and it definitely challenges your mindset, because the mindset I've had pretty much all my life was, oh, there's no hope. I may be struggling with depression, anxiety, CPSTD, or whatever it's called.
yeah.
But this has kind of opened up my eyes into something much bigger than myself, and I'm very grateful for you guys. You've guys d- you've guys done so much, and I know I've done so much work, but I, and I want to pay it forward, and that's why I continue to work on myself, and that's why I continue to do what I do here. Helping out as much as I can, sharing my story, because my story may help someone else down the road, and I'm very thankful and grateful. But definitely my aunt, my mom, my stepdad Steve, my kids, because they are my inspiration for change as well, and um, and the people that were in Indiana, I gotta say I gotta thank them too, because there's a purpose for every person in your life, whether it's good or bad. And that's where I'm where I am now. That's where I'm meant to be.
I think that's beautiful, and I think it's beautiful too how you're you're taking your story and you're using it as inspiration for others, and how you want to, like you said, you want to do it forward and continue to help others and use what you've learned to do so. And I think that's an amazing thing.
Thank you.
And I'm happy you're doing that. I think everyone should try to do that and take what they learn and pass it on. Just because what I found is through helping others, you help yourself really,
Absolutely.
and it's an amazing thing. Another question I have is there anything in your life, I'm sure there is, but any main regrets in your life of things you wish you should have done?
That's a really, really good question. Any regrets? I'm pretty sure everyone has regrets. I know I have my own regrets, but I don't think I look at it that way anymore. I see it as opportunities.
Yeah,
Opportunities to make a change. Um, my regrets are just, hey, you know what? This is an opportunity for me to grow now, to learn from. That's how I see it. I don't see it as regrets anymore. So,
I think that's awesome too. It's so cool how you have this mindset now that is so positive, and I think it's why you're succeeding more in life. Yeah, it's
yeah,
amazing.
absolutely.
Um, One of the last questions I have for you is is there any particular thing, like through through your sessions with Real Talk, that stands out to you as a key thing that you have learned and taken away from that at all? There may be a couple, but
Oh, there's been so many, but like a lot of that stuff like hits home for me. I just can't take in one in particular.
mm,
It's all of them combined.
yeah,
Like the wisdom that Caprice shares in there is very powerful. But what his saying is something about it's not over till it's over. I think that hits home for me and a lot of other people too.
I definitely think so. And the way and the way that I look at that quote of it's not over till it's over is everyone has things that they regret or things that they they shouldn't have done, things like that, but that there's stuff in your past doesn't matter. What matters is
Right,
what you do and say right now in the present.
right, right.
And I think it's that inspiration of that and how much truth there is to that that can be used to, I mean, that pushes me to drive myself forward because it's about the now.
Absolutely, it is.
Yeah. My last question for you is if you had one message for the entire world, what would it be?
Definitely love yourself, set boundaries and goals, and never give up.
It's simple, but it's sweet. I love that.
Thanks.
Well, thank you, Marianne, and thank you for sharing
Absolutely.
everything that you shared today. I'm sure it's kind of hard to share some of that, but
Yeah.
I hope your story gets out to people, because I think everything that you said, people can gain so much from that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.